How's it going, people? Welcome back to AFTV. This show is usually exclusive to AFTV VIP, the mobile web app for AFTV. But here we are today on the official AFTV channel. We're going live, me, Mo, Lee, and James, here to discuss, obviously, the recent news and stories around Arsenal. They're still starting to fight for this season. You know, we're still in the Europa League, so I think that's the best place to start. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Get your questions and thoughts in. We'll touch on them throughout the hour or so that we're here this morning or this afternoon or this evening, wherever you guys are tuning in from. How's it going, everyone? James, Lee, Mo, you're all good?
All good. Happy. All good.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse today. It could have been a lot worse. We scheduled this in at the start of the week, and, you know, a lot of us were confident, but there was a bit of nerves in there too. So let's talk about Thursday. Let's start with you, James. Let's start with you, James, because, you know, your perspective's a bit different. You know, you had a bit more hope, I think, than a few of us going into the second leg. Well, actually, I actually predicted a 3-1 win.
I was going to say, you and Lee were saying we'd breeze it, so I think I was on the more pessimistic side. But look, they went out, they did the job expertly, really professional. 25 minutes in, job done. I mean, that's so refreshing. Don't get me wrong, we've seen some good Arsenal performances this season. We've also seen some bad ones. But that was really professional. I love the way we took the game to them and just got it done. You can see from the look in their eyes, you know, when taking the knee and everything in the build-up, you thought they looked ready for this. They looked focused. And they went out, you know, and let's not underestimate what a setback the VAR decision is. You think you got the goal early. You think you've somewhat done half the job. It gets chalked off, you know, and you go score again a minute later. I thought the character was superb. So, yeah, I'm really happy with them.
I think when you look at that game, a lot of people have come away from it saying it's our best performance of the season. Is there also an argument that it's the game with the most pressure that we've had all season? Mo, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think it probably is. You know, the thing is that the last game where, you know, your season is riding on it is always going to be the one that feels like it's had the most pressure. But that also would have happened early on in the season as well. Let's say with the FA Cup, for example, that would have been at that point the game with the most pressure. We didn't respond well then, but we have responded well now. And I just hope that, I've said this many times this season, but I really, really hope we've turned the corner with the last two results. But then I think to myself, hold on a second, calm down, look at the quality of opposition. And yes, the team deserves credit because we can only beat what's in front of us. You know, it's an old football adage when people say that, but it's very true. But I don't think it's at the level, I don't think it's been long enough. 2 games isn't long enough, and the quality of opposition isn't strong enough for us to read into this and say we've definitely turned a corner. But at least it's positive signs based on what we can do against the teams that are against us. So I'm very happy with that. And, you know, what I find interesting is that earlier on in the season, we had some good performances where we dominated possession and that sort of thing. And Arteta kind of complained that, oh, you know, we dominated the game, but we didn't win. And I found that quite annoying.
Yeah. And
we played really, really well on Thursday, but Slavia Prague had significantly more possession, for example. And I think shots were equal. I don't think they got one on target, but looking at possession, they had more. Shots, it was equal. On balance, you'd look at that game, and if you had to guess the scoreline, you know, without seeing shots on target, of course, you'd think it was a fairly even game, or potentially Slavia Prague edged it. But this is what it's about. You know, it's about being efficient, about being clinical. And that's what we were lacking in previous games when Arteta would kind of frustratingly praise us. And now, here we are, on the wrong side of the possession statistic. We didn't dominate the game on stats, but we dominated. We all know that. We all saw that. And that's the sort of performance I want to see more from Arsenal.
Yeah, it's about getting the job done, I think, Mo. You know, I don't think anyone here can confidently say we're ready for Champions League football. I don't think anyone can confidently say we're going to win the Europa League, but it's just about getting the job done. That we're literally just 2 or 3 wins away from Champions League football, Champions League money, whichever perspective you want to look at it from. You know, it's very important for the progress and development at Arsenal Football Club. Lee, what was your overall thoughts on the game before we delve more into it?
Never in doubt. Never in doubt. Wasn't worried about it from day one. Like, you know, I mean, the only disappointment for me, right, was that when Lacazette scored to make it 4-0, I got knocked off top of the table. That was the only thing that I was disappointed about. Like, you know what I mean? I could hear 3 voices going mad when that 4th goal went in. Like, you know, it was you know, and I was out of order. I heard Turkish cheering from downstairs. Not on in my book, not on, but. No, seriously, on a serious note, I can go. I see what Mo's saying there about stats and all that. Didn't matter. 20 minutes blew them away. Absolutely blew them away in 20 minutes. And the good thing about it, from my point of view, was that we got a goal disallowed, which was, fine margins. Didn't affect us. Didn't feel sorry for ourselves and everything like that. Oh, this is not going to be our day. Win again. Relentless, ruthless, what we've wanted from the team for a very, very long while. Put them to the sword, and to be truthful and be blatant about it, that is what they deserved. They were not a good side, and that is exactly what we should have done. I said in the first leg, we didn't play well in the first leg, and we should have been three goals up. So we needed to play well and take our chances. We've done that. I was also gonna say a little bit of because I criticise Arteta when I feel that he should be criticised, and I praise him when I feel that he should be praised. I thought he got his team selection spot on for that game. I know Martinelli was left out of the game, but he went with the same team that played against Sheffield United. He used that game at Sheffield United as a barometer for this game, and I have to say, well done to him for that. I thought, he used everything that was available to him to get the result. And I don't care what anybody says, whether they're a good side or whether they're not a good side, blah, 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 blah. There was pressure on that game. Now, with Arsenal and myself have been critical at times to say, look, Arsenal don't play under pressure. They always foul under the pressure valve. They didn't. There was a lot of pressure on that game. Come on, we all know that. It was massive. We know that if we lost that, the season was over. But they turned up and performed on the day. Can't ask for no more than that. Well pleased. Not going to go overboard about it. Rightly so. We now focus on Fulham and trying to get as high up the table as we can. With them down the road dropping points again yesterday, all of a sudden Sunday has become important to me. We need to win.
Yeah, and you talked about, the formation and lineup there. Here we got a chat here from Matt saying, I think it was our best performance as the players and managers were under so much pressure. They rose to it. And talking about that pressure, I want to ask, and giving Arteta credit, how much credit does Arteta deserve in maybe not solving the Tierney, conundrum, but in maneuvering his way around it? Because that one, the injury pretty much not came out of nowhere, considering Tierney's injury record for us so far. But going into, like you said, a game with so much pressure on not only the club, but Arteta as well in his managerial role, I think, it was massive. It was massive that he had that Sheffield United game to tinker with, let's say, utilising Xhaka in that position. And it worked against Slavia Prague. How much credit does Arteta deserve for pulling that one out the bag? Or is it literally a back against the wall and he's just done it? Mo, what do you think?
Well, I'm not going to judge him on Sheffield United and Slavia Prague. And I feel like, who was the winger Xhaka was up against?
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like he had a nice run of fixtures to deal with injury as important as Tierney. What I will judge him on is when we play Everton, for example. I think that's coming up
next Friday.
Next Friday. And then we've got Villarreal away from home. Now, if Xhaka is still playing left back then, and he manages to create a system where he's got the right person ahead of him, he's got the right person at left centre back to double up and that sort of thing, and it works, then I think we should judge him on that. This one was fairly, I'd expect Granit Xhaka to be able to cope with these two games. But look, it did work and he stuck to his guns about it. I don't think many fans out there would have selected Xhaka as the left back when Tierney got injured. So he made sort of a left field call, and it has proved to be the right call. I didn't have many issues with it because ultimately I'm not a huge fan of Xhaka in the middle. So the fact that he pulled him out, like, let's say if it was Thomas Partey, he took out the middle, I'll be thinking, what the hell are you doing? But so, yeah, it worked, and I'm happy for Arteta that it worked because so many decisions this season haven't worked for him. So it's nice if he starts getting the rub of the green. Yeah,
and I agree with you there. When I done the warm up with James yesterday, we talked about our lineups for the Fulham game, and I'd actually protect Xhaka for that game and see what he's about in that position against Everton, because that's the true test. Like Mo said, Sheffield United and Slavia Prague, similar level. The attacking threat isn't as high as it should be or can be. So I think Everton will be a massive test. We'll take that one when it comes, but let's just say Everton came and goes and we take an L. You know, I think Arteta with Xhaka in that position, he has no options right now. You know, I think Tierney's out, Cedric in that position playing, you know, right-footed in a left-footed position. It hasn't quite worked as well as we might have hoped in recent performances.
I think the big thing with this Xhaka at left-back thing is that I think it kind of works when you look at the way it looks when we have the ball and you want to get into the nitty-gritty of the tactics and all that. I think it does kind of work when you're predominantly the better team and you have most of the ball and you're expected to win. Yeah. And with Slavia Prague and Sheffield, that was obviously the case. But if you look at our run to the end of the season, bar Chelsea away, you'd think we're favourites for those games. So actually there's a nice opportunity to deploy the system more regularly and be quite hopeful that it's going to keep working. Even Villarreal, you know, I'd expect us to have more of the ball. I'd expect us to be the better team. The only thing would be if we got to the final and we faced Man United, then maybe you'd wonder whether you want Xhaka one-on-one with the Rashford. But, you know, we'll deal with that if and when it comes. So I'd like to see him carry on with this. And I know, obviously, we spoke about it in the warm-up Turkish that came out this morning. But, you know, you want to rotate and protect these players. And I completely understand that. But I think they're starting to hit a wave. There's, you know, we've deployed a new system. They've taken to it quite well. I'd like to see them keep going with it and take it to Everton. And if we beat Everton with that, brilliant. You know, if we can keep Richarlison quiet, Calvert-Lewin quiet, Bernard, Iwobi, all those players quiet, you know, playing Xhaka at left back, I think that's a good sign for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's a different test. It's a much needed test. You know, we can't really paint the picture we want to see against Slavia Prague and Sheffield United. Lee, obviously, you've given Xhaka massive credit at points this season, you know, and at points you've been proven right. You know, so some wild remarks that have turned around to, you know, not be so wild after all. But, you know, let's talk about Xhaka because he's been taken out of that central midfield role that you've given him the praise for. But he's done well in that left back position the last couple of times. Would you keep him there for that vital game we've got in a couple of weeks or? Well,
it depends. It really depends. I think let's look at the situation in the last couple of games. There was a problem where we had no balance, and I think Arteta addressed it by putting Xhaka there. And what I mean by that was there was on a couple of occasions, particularly on Thursday, where the ball went into Xhaka. Instead of him cutting into his right hand foot, playing it inside and whatever, he just let it go across his body, play it straight to Pepe, and then Pepe was on their foot on the fullback straight away. So it didn't give them time, and then didn't give the fullback that much time to engage against Pepe, so giving Pepe a lot of space. So I thought that he'd done well on that. It was addressed. He addressed that situation. What I like about Granit Xhaka is whether you love him or you hate him. And listen, I like Xhaka at the moment, but if we're going to go in to be a top four challenging for the title team, he probably is a squad player, as I've always said. But he's a player that I think the game got a little bit funny. You know, it wasn't that bad, but there's a couple of tackles going flying in, and Xhaka's in there. He's in there. He doesn't let players bully him. He doesn't let players get on top of him. And I think that's a very, very key part of his game. And I like that attitude of him. Like, you know, unfortunately, we haven't got enough players like that. Now, when it comes to playing Villarreal or whatever, you know, they're going to have to do their job, aren't they? The coaching staff, look at their games, look at what they've got. If they've got a fast fullback, then maybe, like, you know, the balance situation will have to outweighs, you know, like the dangerous side of a fullback coming in. So they go like, okay, right, we'll have to go with a more defensive player, and they play Cedric in there. But for me, it's horses for courses. I think, like, yeah, let's try them against a Iwobi, if it's a Iwobi or whoever, like, you know, against Everton. That is the greatest thing we've got now in these league games, that we can make a few little tests, you know, against good opposition. You know, the game against Fulham, see what it's like. Fulham have got some tricky players, particularly in wide areas, and they're going to be a team that's going to go for it because they're desperate for points. So this would be a very, very good training warm-up exercise. All right, this is where we're going to play against Villarreal. See how it works. Maybe test somebody else out there at left back or whatever. I think that, you know, we addressed the problem going into the game against Prague, and that's what we needed to do, and it was the right call. I have to give Mikel a lot of credit, because he used that Sheffield United game for that, you know, and played virtually the same team apart from Martinelli, it was there. And also what it does, it just wasn't the left back position. It also had to see what Partey and Ceballos done. And I don't know if you noticed one of the goals on Thursday. Ceballos doesn't even touch the ball; he just dummies it, and it takes out 2 or 3 players, and we get going on the counter attack very, very quickly. So that worked. So it's not just we can take Xhaka out of there. You've got to get the right players in. Now, hopefully by the next game, we've got Odegaard coming into the frame. Maybe he can play there as well. So you can also think to yourself, well, okay, we've got a very, very good game against Everton, a difficult opposition. Let's put Odegaard in there alongside Partey and maybe Smith Rowe and see if it works, see if we get exposed, see if we don't. They're all little things that we can do now, and I think that's a little good thing for us. I will say that for me, Smith Rowe was also another key decision in that midfield to put him in place of Martinelli after what Martinelli had done on the previous game. Bold move from the manager, but it worked. So I think that listen, for me, I like Granit Xhaka, but mainly in the team at the moment because we don't get bullied when he's in there, and if it means him playing left back, we play him left back. But also, I think that when you look at the left back situation, say for instance, we got Man United coming up. Well, who knows? By then we might have Tierney coming into the side. He might be fit by then, So this is only a stopgap at this moment in time. And also, I have to say this: that the goal we conceded against Prague was ridiculous in the first leg. Absolutely ridiculous. The 2 players that were involved in that have been dropped. Oh, I like that ruthlessness. If you think it's right or if you think it's wrong, it's you look. You make some stupid mistake like that, you might lose your place. I love it.
That's how it's got to be.
And it's got to be done, And I think that there is, and all those players now, which is the greatest thing for me now is, for instance, Bellerin, Cedric, Aubameyang, and even Odegaard, if you want to be honest with that, have now got to produce performances to get back in that semi-final lineup. Can only bode well for us. So let's hope that it does.
And we've got a super chat here from Mark as well that says top 8 and winning the Europa League is the minimum I'll take. Credit where it's due for Arteta. If we can advance to the final and win it, 2 trophies. But that's what I said the other day. 2 trophies in your first 18 months or so as a manager. Everything looks very different. All these conversations we've been having this 100%. Season. We might as well just throw it in the bin for a little while. But at the same time, it doesn't tell us the picture moving forward. We can't run away with it like we ran away with the FA Cup final win as well. Mo,
let me just say, look, what Mark is saying there is a very fair call at this stage of our season, but we need to move away from taking top 8 as something that's acceptable. Top 8 is unbelievably poor for Arsenal Football Club, So look, I'm not getting onto him because yes, at this stage of the season, fair enough. But when we press reset and we go again next season, any talk of top 8 is failure, absolute failure.
And can I ask you a question, Mo? Because I asked this in the warm up with Turkish. Same for you, Lee. Do you guys? Because I agree with you, right? We shouldn't be looking at top 6, 7, and 8 and talking about improvements or whatever. But do you ever look at things like, earning more points than last season, scoring more goals than last season, winning more games than last season? Do you put any kind of stock in that being improvement in any way? Or do you just think, quite frankly, if we're not higher up the table, I don't care?
For me, it's really more about the table. The thing is, when you're talking about point 1, for example, that's not just that. What you do is half of it. You're also taking points off other teams, winning points off of other teams. Now, if the whole standard of a league, let's say because of coronavirus has gone down and it's a bit choppy, home form is out the window, the points distribution is going to be a bit odd. If, for example, there's 2 standout teams in previous years, Liverpool and City, and everyone else is a bit more average, and now there's a lot more competitive teams. Like I look at that top 8 now that we're not even part of, and I think each one of those are good teams. There are points to go around. I think you have to contextualize it every single season. For me, it's about how you respond to pressure, and this is something you can't quantify. It's how you deal with that run-in, how you deal with these fixtures as they come up. And Arsenal haven't really dealt with them very well. So I feel like that's a bit of a distraction personally.
Yeah, it's something it's like my last resort. When we're out the title race, we're out the top 4 race, we're out the top 6 race. I'm thinking, all right, well, can we at least somewhat better something from last season? We've got a super chat here from KD. Hey, Fab4, thank you. You guys are amazing. Thank you again. But realistically, when will we become like City or Liverpool title challengers? Also, is Arteta the guy? Quite a big question there. Who wants to take this?
Oh, I'll take it. I'm just following on what you're saying there. Like, we should be challenging for the title, not top 4, not top 4. Top 4, is high, is masking what we got to do, because all of a sudden now, when you're challenging for top 4, you're 6th or 7th. Oh well, it's not there. We are a million miles away from where this club should be going. Now, I'm not saying that we should be winning the league year in, year out, but we should be involved in it. We are not involved in a top 4 battle this season. We've accepted it as fans. We've accepted, we're not going to get top 4. The only way to get it is Europa League. And basically, there's a lot of Arsenal fans, me included, felt that was probably our best route to get to the Champions League in the first place. You know what I mean? Not top 4. Standards are slipping. Standards are dropping. And I'm afraid after this season, we've said, right, we're going to do the process and everything that goes along with that. That's fine. Next season, if you're not in top 4, bye-bye, whoever you are. You know what I mean? That's the end of it, because you've got teams and clubs in front of us, that if they don't challenge for the title, they're going. Chelsea, for instance, you know what I mean? They're saying, top 4 is not acceptable. We want to win the title. They've got rid of their manager, possibly now a chance of getting to the Champions League final. Would have that happened 3 months ago? I very much doubt it. Ruthlessness. And we've got to have that attitude. If you're, a manager, I'm sorry, but a manager, should come into Arsenal and his first thing is, like, you've got to challenge for the title. Anything out of the top 4, that you're going to get your P45. End of. That is what Arsenal Football Club should be and is about. And you're asking Arsenal fans to spend the top money, right? Yeah, a football game. Yeah, so you expect something back from that. You expect to get good football. You expect to be challenging for a title. We've had none of that over the last few years, and I'm not going to accept it next season. Next season, I expect us to be challenging for titles, and I expect to be excited. And do you know why I expect to be excited? Because I pay bloody damn good money to be excited, and that is it now. Like, you know what I mean? 8th place is not acceptable at Arsenal Football Club.
Yeah.
The worst position that we could get, or which is acceptable, the worst we should be is 6th. That's it. That's the worst, and that's still not acceptable of the club with everything that we have. One thing I will say about it in their defence this season, why I'm going to let it go a little bit, and I'll say it again: youth is the road we're going down, and with the young players that we've got coming through, that is exactly how I think that we've got a very, very good chance with these guys. This year, it may be a painful year, but it could be so much more beneficial that these guys are getting their games now to push on. Like Saka again. You know what I mean? People was doubting Saka a little while ago, saying he was tired, this and this and that. Look at that performance on when it mattered. Quality. You know what I mean? Smith Rowe, 20. This. So I get that there's a little bit of that, but from next season, we push on.
Lee, if youth is what the route we're going down, why the hell has Willian had so much game time this season? That's another thing I'm looking at next. What is Arteta going to be doing about this Willian issue? And honestly, it must be agent-driven. It must be. It makes no flipping sense to me.
The whole signing was agent-driven. That's what that
was. He didn't even get a minute, did he, yesterday? Listen, Thursday was a massive game for Arteta, a massive moment for the club. He did not get a minute.
Yeah,
that's a big thing, by the way.
I think,
from where we were at the beginning of the season, where we thought he's never gonna drop this guy, and I'll pay Willian his dues. He's looked better in context the last couple months, but the fact he brought Balogun on, I like that. Nketiah as well. I don't really know what's going on behind the scenes with that deal. I can only think that if it did come from Arteta, that he thought you know, I'm on such a shoestring budget, you know, and I need to add some kind of creativity. Why not pick this guy up on a free? That's, you know, and I wasn't completely against the signing when it happened, I'll be honest. But yeah, I'm not sure we'll be seeing much more of him between now and the end of the season.
I just want to touch on the title challenges chat that we just had, and we was talking about our expectations. I think Mo, you said it about at the start of the season. You know, I think the minimum expectations for most fans, whether deluded or not, would be to challenge for top 4, especially in the position we're in. As the season goes on, as it's gone on in the last 3-4 years, it's kind of changed to top 6. Let's, you know, get a trophy in top 8. It's like we preserve our anger and our frustration with the club and just keep it rolling over. And I think what Lee said is massive in that when do you draw the line and say, next season, I demand it. My expectations won't drop to say top 6 in FA Cup. My expectations won't drop to say top, because we've done the same thing with Wenger and top 4, for example. You know, we had enough of top 4, just making it. We wasn't ambitious enough to kick on from it. 2-3 years later, or well, 5-6 years later now, we're consistently in the top 6, top 8. It's become a problem, but the fans are still sitting back saying top 8 and Europa League would be, you know, something to take home. But that's us preserving our anger and our frustration at the club and letting them get away with it. So is next season really the season where we all draw the line and say, you know what, this has to be the season now, 4 years or 3 years after Wenger? Money coming in, wage bill cleared, FFP in doubt. You know, I don't believe we'll build a title challenge inside this summer, but as a board, as a club, when you're ready to move into that direction, I think 3-year turnaround and you can see a massive change in the club if you go in the right direction. We've got another super chat here. Go on, James.
Yeah, I'll put it up actually. Mark T. The issue with Arsenal is that the players' mentality are not consistent enough for challenging for the title. Also, Arteta loves the sub players late. Why? On that first point, there is something about this Arsenal team where you don't know what you're going to get week in, week out, and that's not, you know, that doesn't make a title challenging side. You know, you don't know if we're going to drop a performance like Sheffield United, Slavia Prague, or I mean, just look, we lost to Burnley at home earlier this season. You know, sometimes we have those kind of performances. I think when you talk about drawing the line, it's really interesting, Turkish, because yeah, at what point do you? But for me, it's more when a manager's in the job and he's getting his players and you're watching week in, week out, I just think it's about seeing genuine improvement. Is the football genuinely getting better? Are we climbing the table? We're getting better results? Are we scoring more goals? Because I know it's sort of a lazy comparison to compare what we're trying to do to what Liverpool and Klopp did. But with Liverpool, you saw an improvement. They looked more exciting going forward. They scored loads of goals. The players that came in, fit a profile. They had a philosophy. You knew exactly what they were trying to do week in, week out. And then they got on a great Champions League run where they slap up Man City and Roma and they get to a final. And you see, they even got to Europa League final before that. I think people forget that. And so you saw signs of progress. And so actually, there was never a point where Liverpool fans said, you know, all right, Klopp, but this is year 3 and we've not challenged for the title yet. I think they were patient because the side were quite clearly improving year in, year out. And I think that's what we're still not 100% sure if we're seeing with Arteta. You know, we're seeing some encouraging signs. We're seeing some worrying signs. Are we genuinely progressing under him yet? I'm not sure. I think we are, but I understand people who aren't so sure about that.
Yeah.
How we progress, you know, this is a thing. It's like, you know, yes, there's a sprinkle of some good signs, but how can anyone come to the conclusion that we're definitely progressing under Arteta? Statistics, we're regressing.
Because I do think the football, the thing is, I'm comparing it to how bad it got under Emery. That's the thing. I'm not comparing it to where we were when Wenger left. When Emery left, I do believe we were being dominated in every game, outshot in every game, outplayed, tactically naive. We didn't have a solid formation. And I know this is the lowest of the low in terms of foundations to build on. But I do think we have. I also think the biggest improvement, and I really will stick my chest out on this one, is the state of the squad. Where before we had, you know, Ozil, Kolasinac, Socrates, Mustafi, players that I'm not sure whether they were committed to the club. And now you've got Smith Rowe, Saka, Odegaard if he stays, Partey, Gabriel, Tierney, players that I really care about and I think have a future at this club. So I think that's where I see the genuine improvement. In terms of results, yeah, I agree. There's a lot to be debated there. But I think the state of the club, whether it's a big improvement or not, it's not really. I do think we're heading in the right direction, just.
You know, obviously, I keep on banging on from another perspective, as I've always done on AFTV last few years, always trying to look above and trying to look at the bigger picture of it. With Arteta, it's, you know, one of the questions was, is Arteta the guy? Now, Emery came and went, and there'll be questions, and there still is questions about whether he was the guy. You know, people turn around and look at what Emery achieved in the first season and say, you know, maybe he deserved a bit more, maybe he deserved more time. I'll look at Lampard at Chelsea as another example. And although it didn't go well for him, I don't think anyone can say Lampard wasn't the guy for Chelsea. I just think they have an owner they can trust in decision-making. And regardless of that move to sack Lampard, they won't be looking backwards. Whereas us Arsenal fans, we sack Emery, and under Arteta, we look backwards. And I'm not saying that's wrong, because that highlights the discrepancies in the boardroom and the ownership and whatnot. But it also highlights something from us fans too, that, you know, where we direct our opinions, aggression matters too. You know, we need someone we can trust above Arteta, because whether you believe Arteta is the guy or he isn't the guy, if you have people you can trust above him, then you can trust them to make that decision for you or for us. That's why I tend to look at it from that perspective and try not to any more seek small positives, because it would be a small positive, James, when you say we've made an improvement. It would be small beacons of light that you're basing that judgment off, right?
Absolutely. Listen, guys, I'm not the chatter on me, and I understand. I'm not sitting here. I'm not sitting here trying to say to everyone we've definitely progressed and the club.
Nothing.
I'm just trying to point to certain areas where I do think the club is in a better state now than where it was on the day that Emery left.
In your defense, James, I have to say, I think you answered the question brilliantly in terms of how we fare during games. We have more control over games. Even games that we lose, we look better than a lot of the games under Emery where we actually got a result. Because, my God,
thank you.
He set records in terms of shots conceded. We had no control. We didn't know how to stem the flow of opposition. Arteta is definitely a superior manager in that respect. But it's so interesting that this conversation naturally, because we're not talking about the semi-final yet, it's naturally come down to comparing Arteta with Emery.
Yeah.
And my God, look what we've got against us now.
I know.
Yeah.
What we're also forgetting about Mikel Arteta is there was a season before Christmas. I think the season started in September, and I can remember some awful performances. You know what I mean? I think there's a difference between improvement I think off the field and on the field, and I think that the improvement has come from the youngsters and them being integrated into the team. Saka has, you know, let's be honest. Let's just go into that. Saka has come on like unbelievably. I think more than what anybody could expect. You know what I mean? I think, you know, it's been outstanding. Smith Rowe now has come on to the fray. Now, if you be honest about that. And I'm trying to be honest. If you'd have said at the beginning of the season, who's going to be the standout youngster coming through, I would have said Martinelli. You know what I mean? Like, but Saka's gone above and beyond. So has Smith Rowe. So I do think that off the field, we've got some real improvements. And if you look at the off the field team, this is where my problem comes with Arteta. Look at the team and the squad that we've got now, to what the team and the squad we had, say, under Emery. I think Emery didn't have the tools that Arteta's got now. These youngsters, he was blooding these youngsters at 17 when they're not going to be the way that they were. And also, it is a little bit of a gloss over it, or a little fog, because when you turn around and say, oh, yeah, we've got a better squad, we're going to lose two of those players in Odegaard and Ceballos, so we've got to be looking to replace them. Like, you know, that's going to be a difficult thing. You know, people can say about what they want about those players, but they're settled. They know what the system is and whatever. And we've got to take them out and bring in another two. So it could be pivotal into what goes on for next season. So I do feel there's been like improvements in the squad. I do feel a lot more confident in the squad, but I still feel there's players in that squad that will let us down, and that's what has happened. And you know, ultimately that needs to change. I will say, you know, listen, people call me a flip flop, and I get that. I'm trying to get a sponsor for it, like, you know what I mean. But anyway, like let's be on about it, right? Rob Holding, right? I flip flop all the time. I thought he was rubbish 3 or 4 weeks ago, like, yeah, and then the last couple of games has had a real good performance, 2 good performances. But can they string that on now to 10, 15, 20 games? And that's my problem with a lot of these players. They can do, and that is why we get this tag of cup team, because a cup team can do it 1 or 2 games. You know what I mean? When it matters, can do it, and then and there are things like that. And at this moment in time, I would put us more down as a cup team than a Champions League qualifying team or a championship title team. But what I will say is that by winning trophies can put you on the platform, can step you up, get winners, and it's important as well, you know. And I don't think that should be forgotten when we turn around at the FA Cup. And if he does it, and let's hope that he does, brings the Europa League Cup on it. That's for what he's got and whatever. You'd have to say, like, hands off. I'm going to say that's quality. But at this moment in time, I still feel that with the squad that we've got, the players that we've got, we should be a lot better than what we are.
Yeah, and I do want to move on to what Mo was saying about Emery, but a super chat has kind of rattled me a little bit. Francis said Klopp finished 6th, 8th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, then 1st. Restructure takes time. I'm doing one in my company right now. I've agreed with everything so far. This is where it rattled me a little bit. Arsenal fans, very little patience. You go tell Man City that they're moving into a new stadium to compete with Europe's elite when you've just gone invincible, when you've just made the Champions League final, and then don't win the league for another 15 years and tell me about patience. Do the same with Chelsea. Do the same with United. Tell me about patience. Arsenal fans have been very, very patient. I hate that tag that we've been impatient.
We're incredibly patient as fans, I think, actually.
I hate that tag that we have, that we're impatient. We've been so patient to the point where the patience showed made us look foolish. That's how patient we was. We look foolish.
It's not also about patience, Turkish. You know what I mean? You're right. It does wind me up. But it's also they took away what we all loved. The reason one of the main reasons I support Arsenal Football Club was for Highbury, was the stadium.
Yeah,
I don't care what anybody says. You know, if you go back to when I was a kid, Arsenal had floodlights on their roof, not these big pylon things and everything like that. Highbury was different in every shape or form, and that is one of the reasons. So when they say they took that away and said to me, right, we're gonna be challenging for trophies and all that, like. And here we are, 10th, and fans telling we should be happy with that. Guys, you know what I mean? Like, that's what gets my goat.
Be excited, be patient. That's all I hear. Be excited, be patient.
On that stadium thing, I do have to say this. When Arsenal decided to move from Highbury to the Emirates, the importance of matchday revenue based on fans attending was 100%. So different to what it is now. Yep. So I don't think like anyone expected the value of TV rights to just go as crazy as they went, and FFP completely out the window now, all of that sort of stuff. So it has changed a lot. And at that moment in time, I do think it was the right decision. No one wanted to leave Highbury, but I get why they had to do it. So I give them some slack on that.
Yeah, I can understand. I can understand the vision. It's just the people in charge of the vision, they didn't understand it.
I totally agree with what we're saying. I totally agree, but it was taken away. You know what I mean? Like whether it was for the right reasons or not, I do agree, and circumstances change. But then you know, from my point of view now, okay, it's changed where it's gone to whatever things on the TV money and everything like that, and we're still not competing. And people will turn around and say, "Well, be patient." And I hold on a minute. You know, there was a stage, but also, Mo, when they turned around and said, "Look, as an Arsenal fan, you're going to have to pay top money to come and watch this football club. Yeah, we will play good football, but every season we will sell our best player as well." You know, and for a couple of seasons, with all the TV money being popped around, we done that. You know, and still 15 years later, we still haven't paid off the stadium. We still haven't done this. We still haven't done that, you know. And all of a sudden now you can guarantee what's coming next. Oh, the epidemic has caused all these problems. This should have been solved years ago with all the money that we had. But it hasn't. And why, I don't know. You can put a lot of scenarios into that. But I think Arsenal fans on the whole have been very, very patient and still very patient. There's still fans accepting a process, accepting this and accepting that at this moment in time. So I do feel that we are very patient, but we're getting a little bit twitchy.
Yeah. I'm just going to take the super chat very quickly before we move on to the semi-final chat and Unai Emery. Ethan asking, coming to the transfer window, I'd like to see Arsenal going for a double Brighton swoop of Lamptey and Basuma. What about you? Quickly, you guys in favour of all that?
100%. Yeah.
2 thumbs up.
I like that.
Look,
I think they'd be class.
If we let Xhaka and Bellerin go and got Lamptey and Basuma, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So, Unai Emery, I know we've touched on it.
Good evening.
Wait.
Good evening. I can't lie, Unai Emery, yeah, you know, he's definitely going to have a chip on his shoulder. The way a lot of fans treated him, the way the media treated him, the way he was ridiculed at times, and the way his reputation as a manager was dragged through the mud. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. I just hope that Arteta and Arsenal are as up for it as he will be. I was talking to a couple others the other day, and my initial thought was that a lot of these players would be up for it, you know, to prove Emery wrong. But then I was told that, you know, Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, their chances were given by Emery. Martinelli, pretty much the same. Lacazette and Oba were fitted in a lot under Unai Emery. Xhaka was given captaincy. There's a lot of players in there that actually got along well with Unai Emery. Where should we start then? Do you think who's got more on this game? Is it Unai Emery or is it Mikel Arteta?
Arteta. No,
Yeah.
Can I just say something? That's because it's, you know, Emery's manager. Does it really matter? I don't see what everybody's going mad about it for. Like, I really don't. You've got Villarreal. You know what I mean? And Villarreal, whether they're being managed by Emery or whoever, we should be ready and beating them. Like, you know what I mean? That's how I feel.
Of course it does. It gives it extra flavour. You know it does.
Yeah, from that point of view, but I'm not running scared of the man or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, come on, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We should still win. Full stop.
Yeah. I'm not saying it makes it harder, but what it does do, it brings into focus the managers a lot more than what it would do if it was another random manager, because this is the guy who he effectively replaced. You know, forget temporary and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it does bring a lot of focus in, because if he gets knocked out by Emery, the conversation would obviously start that, you know, the comparison between the two.
Yeah, because we both in to get Champions League football. Obviously, we haven't achieved that yet. And if our ex-manager stops the new manager from achieving that this season, then you know what the headlines are going to write. James, what's your thoughts?
I think this is really interesting with Emery, because Arsene Wenger, and by the way, for all the right reasons, was given a lot of time and had a lot of Arsenal fans' patience. Arteta, who's arguably results-wise done worse than Emery. Okay, the FA Cup's a big thing, and you don't gloss over that. He's been given a lot of time and patience. And, you know, Emery, I'm sure, is a very classy bloke, but I can imagine him out in Spain thinking, all right, you guys haven't quite turned on this guy as much as you did on me. And the thing about Emery was it was a unified get out of our club. You know, it really got we really got on his back about it. And I thought we were right to let him go when we did. I think in his second season, he was doing a terrible job. I actually think in his first season, despite the kind of implosion at the end, I thought he did a good job. You know, I think when you saw when Wenger left, his last home game was a 5-0 win against Burnley. So there's still talent in the team. And Emery was designed, you know, the whole point of Emery was to come in, add a bit of, you know, a few players here and there and try to take us back into the top four. He nearly did that, but not quite. Then we pumped about £150 million into the squad of players he wanted. Well, debate about Pepe and Zaha, but pretty much players he wanted. And we regressed massively. And so I think it just got quite nasty. I agree. I don't think the media treated him well. I don't think a lot of Arsenal fans treated him well. But I do think we were right to kind of move on when we did. So I think he is going to be feeling a bit like, you know, I'd love to leave one on them. Really, I do. I think, I'm sure he's a very classy bloke and he's been pretty classy since leaving the club. But I think he'll definitely want to get one back on us. Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Lee, you're very confident about this one. Yeah, I can see
No,
your
I'm
reaction
I'm not having it. I'm not having it. Like, you know what I mean? Listen, I've got no problems with Uri Emery as a person, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? And did he get treated unfairly? No. You know what I mean? Pick the proper team against Crystal Palace, and you'd still be an Arsenal manager, maybe. You know what I mean? But he didn't. He didn't. And then he went to a cup final when I was embarrassed. You know what I mean? We weren't really up for that game. You know what I mean? Like,
he was treated badly. You know, looking at the comments, Turkish, even you did it. Everyone takes the mick out of the way the guy speaks. And he came into the country, learned a new language.
Listen, you never...
Deserves a lot of admiration, and we just ridiculed him for it. For some reason, he was always viewed as a bit of a joke. He wasn't viewed with as much.
He wasn't.
He was.
I'll tell you what. I never ever took the mickey out of his language, because I know how difficult it is to speak languages. I speak 7 myself. You know what I mean? It's very difficult.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What language is that?
So you don't believe me
English.
But what I'm saying is, to speak a different language, as you guys, some of you guys will know, it's difficult. You know what I mean? So I don't think that. I just think he didn't do the job properly. You know what I mean? He was given the chance, Mo, after that diabolical Europa League defeat, to give it again, and we was poor. Yeah. Shots being rained in at us left, right, and centre, and if that's what he was, let's see us rain shots in at him and all that lot. If they beat us, it's got it's fair enough. You may be coming down to him a little bit, but it's about the player. If Arsenal's players turn up and play to their ability, and the Villarreal players play to their ability, Arsenal will win. It's immaterial. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't got no problems with him. And yes, of course he's going to want to do one over us, because come on, we've all played football, and if you've been let go by a team, and then you're going to come back, and whether you're a player or a manager, you're going to just try that a little bit harder. That's part and parcel of football. And it was always going to be, this is my thing, always going to be the chance of meeting each other. Always going to be the chance, whether it be in the Europa League or whatever. It's happened now. Bring it on. Yeah, I don't rate the man. I don't rate the man. If he was great, he would still be in Arsenal. He failed. End of.
I see a lot of, I like to talk about my stats, and I hear a lot of, all right, stats this, but it's all about results.
Just going to sleep.
And see you later, Lee. It's been nice. It's been nice chatting.
This is one of the languages James speaks, mate. Listen.
Yeah, one of my many. But this is where I think Emery's a great example of where stats absolutely do matter, because I remember when we were going through a bad patch this season, and people were trying to compare to the Emery days, and almost trying to make out like it wasn't so bad, saying, well, we never lost this many games, and actually we drew a lot of them, we could have won. And I'm thinking, no. Anyone who watched those games, a lot of them we drew, Southampton at home, Watford away, knows that the way we were playing was so unsustainable, because we shipped 50 shots in 2 games against Watford and Southampton. It was chaos. Yeah, it was absolute carnage. That was a year and a half into his management, and we looked a complete, utter mess. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying, and people will argue with me about whether we look better now. I guess it's a matter of opinion, but I'll say I prefer Arsenal now to what we were back then, where at least there's a degree of structure. Like it's a normal football match. 12 shots for one team, 6 or 7 for the other. It's a pretty formations. That's a good thing. I like formations. It's pretty kind of standard football. Where it got under Emery was so bad. And I don't just blame him. I really don't. And I think in his first season, he did better than people give him credit for. But let's not pretend it was better in hindsight and go, I can't believe we sacked Emery for this. No, it was horrendous under Emery.
Can I play devil's advocate and say that if the roles were reversed, Emery would have been sacked in December for Arteta's form?
Why do you think that?
I know that. I just think that there's been a connection between the fans and Arteta because it's been sold to us like that. He won the FA Cup, he was captain. And I agree with you on points when you look at it statistically. In some areas, Arteta looks like he's doing better. But if you look at it in some areas, Emery looked like he'd done better. Well, what I want Arsenal fans to stop doing is looking back and comparing us to 18 months ago, compare us to 15 years ago and let them work it out. I know people are going to say, oh, you can't compare yourself to the Invincibles or when you were winning titles. But essentially, our standards have dropped so much that we're comparing ourselves to 18 months ago where, that's not where we want to be. We don't want to be where we was 3 years ago. We want to be where
I agree with you. I agree with you. But and I'm gonna pick on this fan. Hi, Jonathan, who makes the point. Emery had 13 losses in 51 games. Arteta was 12 and 31 already this season. That's a great point. That is pretty damning. Go on, Mo. Jump in, Mo.
This is what I wanted to say. Look, Emery's start at Arsenal was probably better than Arteta's.
Much better.
And when you look at the 50 games and you compare them, yes, it's without doubt. The statistics are there. Emery did better in terms of his first 50 games, just purely results-wise. But for me, if someone could say to me now, what would Emery's next 50 games be like had he continued versus what do you expect Arteta's next 50 games to be like now that he will continue? Arteta is who I would choose day in, day out. Because like James was saying, where Emery took us to, the absolute lack of control we had in games was unacceptable for me and was definitely sack-worthy. And also, one other thing, just for balance, Arteta's not perfect. Emery, one of the biggest things that grated on fans was him putting Torreira in the number 10 role. And for Arteta, one of the things that grates on the fans the most is him playing Willian. Now, I'd actually side with Emery on that. When playing Torreira number 10, madness. But at least I could understand why he was potentially doing it. Exactly the same reason why Sarri tried it with Jorginho at Kante, at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Win the ball high up, your expected goals go through the roof. And these are specialist players that win the ball high up. So I understand that press and trying to win the ball high up in the final third. So at least I understood that. Arteta with Willian, I just do not understand. So there is a bit of pros and cons for both. But overall, what really matters to me is results. And I'm going back to the next 50 games, Arteta over Emery.
Yeah, and also it has to be pointed out that in his first 50 games, he has a pre-season start. He starts from scratch. Arteta came in when let's be honest, we was in a mess at that December stage. You know what I mean? It was difficult time. Also, he's had to go through the COVID and everything like that. I think that has to be put into consideration. I'm not using that as an excuse, no way. But what I'm saying is when you look at stats, they can always be scrubbed up to something that they're not. You know what I mean? And listen, Emery's first 22 games were unbelievable. I've got to say that, it was fantastic. But then it dropped off. So for me, listen, I've got nothing against Emery. I thought he was all right, but he wasn't good enough for Arsenal. And listen, let's be honest. The next 6 months will tell us the same about Arteta. I really do think that. You know what I mean? The next 6 months of Arteta's tenure will be judged exactly the same, in my book anyway, as Emery's was.
Yeah. So are we all confident on getting to the Europa League final?
Can I just ask, who backed Arsenal to win the Europa League in us for?
Backed them to win it. Oh, in that little thing.
Two of you. I actually didn't because I'm
one of them.
Bastard.
I think you was the other Turkish, weren't you?
I think I was. I wake up one day. I'm optimistic. I wake up the next.
Just for everybody, just get clarity. And Mo, I know went Manchester United. He also went Bayern Munich, and they've gone. They've crashed.
Right, so let's hope the other one crashes.
What bothers me about that, Lee? I did not know Lewandowski was going to be injured. I was gutted when I saw that. He's out for both legs. For me, if Lewandowski plays, Bayern get through that.
Yeah,
and Gnabry was out.
I was gutted.
Yeah. That's why I always listen to James, because his stats sometimes can be very, very good.
Yeah.
But you know what? I just want to on Arteta and all this sort of stuff. We're talking about the next 50 games, and Lee, you're talking about the next 6 months. Will tell us exactly all that sort of stuff. It's a 2-week timeline now for Arteta, and this happens regularly with him now because he's touch and go. We have Everton on April 23rd, and then we have Villarreal away, Newcastle away, Villarreal at home. Everton, they are trying to get into those European places. They will be fighting, and we've got them at home. Hopefully we'll get a result, but that'll be a tough game. The semi-finals against Villarreal, massive. Newcastle fighting relegation away from home, massive. These 4 games are going to be huge for him. And we had a favourable tie against Slavia Prague in the games in between. This is less easy now. Both the games in between and Villarreal versus Slavia Prague. So all of that pressure we were talking about that we dealt with, that gets amped up now. Let's see, can the players deal with that? Is Arteta really on the right trajectory? Or we will be having the same conversation ahead of the second leg on May the 6th saying, if he loses this, he's out.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Lee, I think you said 6 months. I think the next, 6 weeks are very important to Mikel Arteta to see how much hope we've got in him. Yeah. We've got about 3,000 people watching live. Before we move on to the little prediction segment we got for the following game against Fulham, make sure you guys hit the like button. 3,000 people online, not even 1,000 likes. Get it up to 1,000 likes, and who knows, we might be back again in a few weeks live on AFTV. Let's get the prediction table up now, because I know AFTV hasn't been in a little while. Hey, it's got to be done, Lee. It's got to be done. There we are. Hey, oh, nice. You lot ain't even on double digits yet. What's going on down there?
Handle this. I was on there. I was
that line prepared.
Bloody Lacazette scoring that goal. I was happy with 3. I was happy.
Listen, people, as you can see, I'm running away with it. Don't let Lee being 1 point behind me fool anyone. Listen,
this is, it annoys me, running away with it. 10 points out of 16 games, is awful. 8 points out of 16 games is awful. We're all rubbish. And here he is talking like he's prime Barcelona.
I can't see you down there, Mo. Speak up a little bit, mate. Speak up a little bit.
Shirt's on its way to Turkish at the moment. It's on its way to Turkish.
So what are we saying? Prediction for Arsenal Fulham at the Emirates. I guess I start because I'm top of the table.
Yeah, Mo has to go last, doesn't he?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going with a 3-1 Arsenal win. 3-1 Arsenal win. I've been 3-1 a couple of times, but 3-1 win. I think we'll get the job done. Do you remember a couple of years ago when we had our Arsenal back, when we beat them at Craven Cottage with Unai Emery in charge?
Yeah,
I talked about it the other day with James, and we're still waiting for our Arsenal back now. But I'm going with a 3-1.
So it's down to me next, isn't it? Like, I'm going. I've got a little feeling they might score, but I'm going 2-0. 2-0 the Arsenal.
2-0.
1-0 for me.
1-0?
Yeah.
All that optimism.
Being a miserable bastard has seen Arsenal win a few games, so I'm just going to keep it going.
So 3-1, 2-0, 1-0. Last and least, Mo.
How am I last when I'm third, mate? Listen, Lee, do me a favour. Go with 2-1. You think Fulham are going to score? Stick to your guns.
Yeah, because you're going to go 2-0, wouldn't you?
2-0. Stick to your guns, Lee. Go on, change your mind.
No, I'm sticking with it. You go 2-1. Go on.
No, mate. I'm going to go 2-0.
Yeah, everyone trying to catch me at the top. I see it. We've got a couple 2-0s. We've got a 1-0 and a 3-1 by myself. Thanks to everyone that's got involved today. Obviously, it's been live and we've tried to engage with the chat as much as possible. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. And like I said, hopefully we'll be back again live on the channel soon. But in between, we are over at AFTV VIP, the mobile web app for AFTV. So make sure you guys check us out there. We'll be back again after the Fulham game and every week following that up until the end of the season. Hit the like button, people, if you haven't already. I'll still be the top of the league when we come back next time. I'm pretty sure of that. And any last words from you guys?
Yeah, just a quick one.
Mo's getting relegated. Mo's getting a quick one and a good one.
Do you know what, James? You are on the same number of points as me. I don't know
thanks for tuning in, guys. It's been fun. Let's get to the next one. Wrap this up, man.
Wrap it now. But you're actually on the same points with a better goal difference. That's all it is.
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's move on. People, like I said, this has been Forever Arsenal. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Subscribe over at AFTV VIP if you want to keep up to date every week. And love for the love, people. As always, take care. Have a good weekend.